Well, I'm delighted to be joined by Tim Steiner, who's the CEO of Ocado, and Rodney McMullen, who is the Chairman and CEO of Kroger. A very warm welcome. Thanks very much indeed. You've just come off the main stage here at the World Retail Congress. It's pretty much the end of the Congress. But before we talk about that, first of all, I just want to say congratulations. Last night you were inducted into the Hall of Fame. Not many people are in that, and well done. So mega congratulations from everybody.
Thank you, David. And obviously it's an incredible honor. And to me, it was really an opportunity to represent our 460,000 associates because that's what made it possible.
Well, let's talk about that. You've had an amazing transformation of your business over the course of the last few years that you've been in command, both as CEO. Tell us a little bit about that transformation, because it's against a background of probably the fastest paced transformation that we've seen in the retail sector ever.
Yeah, well, to me, it's never easy, and once you know for sure, it's too late. So you have to take risk, and you have to stay out there. One of the things that early on in our journey is that obviously we have incredible connections with our associates and our customers, but there are other things that we need to move faster on, and that's really when we decided we needed to partner with other people. And we've announced several partnerships with a company called Neuro for autonomous vehicles, Walgreens, Microsoft, and others, but then also Ocado in terms of really being able to accelerate our online journey.
Now, it wasn't that many years ago when retailers all wanted to do everything themselves, create their own supply systems and their own distribution systems on the basis that, they believed that they were best to be able to control the total customer experience. Would you agree we're moving to a different era sort of an ecosystem? And within that ecosystem, you partner, some of the partners you might own, some of the partners you might just do a financial deal with, some you might own a little bit of equity in, but it's become now too big for anybody to manage and to operate that at speed without that sort of ecosystem.
Well, to me, all the advantages you just mentioned, David, is part of it. The other thing is when I look at Tim and the talent that Tim has and the team and the drive and the ecosystem they have in terms of getting best-in-class ideas across the whole world, that's an ecosystem that we wouldn't be able to do on our own. And I think about, Ocado's been on the journey for basically, 20 years now.
Yeah.
And the learnings that they have, if we were even world-class, at best it would be 5 years for us to catch up to where Ocado is today, much less where Ocado is going to be in 5 years.
But it sort of takes a big person to admit that, in a sense, and to say, actually, we can't do it ourselves, and the best thing to do is to a strategic partnership.
Yes, I guess I would somewhat disagree, because everything that we're doing is what helps the customer get what they want, and how do we support our associates. And you shouldn't be in these jobs if you have an ego that doesn't help you understand that that's all that matters at the end of the day, and how do you get there as quick as you can.
Now, Tim, you've been on an amazing journey. When you first started, was it 20 years ago?
Just under.
Just under 20 years ago, so let's be kind, 19 years ago. and the ups and downs you've had. At any point did you say, actually, it was a great idea, but we're going to give up?
Well, we wouldn't be here if I'd ever said that. There were plenty of people who suggested that we should say that.
Well, that's soothsayers. What little they know.
We ignored them and, carried on. Look, I think for many years, a lot of people thought e-commerce was going to be a very small part of the market, that it was best to do it from your existing store-based assets. And the idea of automation, centralization, of building all this software was completely redundant. And slowly but surely, we won people over. As Rodney would say, we did the best job for our customers in their homes. We delivered a better and more outstanding service than the giants of our market, the Tesco's and the Sainsbury's and the Asda's and people. And so we started to grow, and we grew, and we started to show that we could do it at economics that none of them could do. And that was the really weird part, where we could do the best service and the best economics. And then when we started to do that, people started to wake up and kind of take note. And obviously in 2013, we signed our first partnership deal with Morrison's. And we then realized that there was a big opportunity. And the best way to go global was to go global as partners and not try and build a retail business to compete with Kroger and Amazon and Walmart and Target and Costco in their market. And so that was our strategy. But we went out there to do a lot of tech work to position ourselves to be a kind of enterprise grade technology business where we have the right stuff to supply to a company of the history and importance and scale of a Kroger, for example. And then people did think we weren't going to do it, but we were having conversations with the retailers, and we realised what interest there was, and we realised the progress that we were making, and we did persist. And now we're working in 7 countries with multiple clients, and hopefully, as we were saying, the benefit is to each of them. So the learnings that we'll get from the different markets that we're in France or in Australia or in Sweden, will end up in Florida or Cincinnati or wherever we're trading. Wherever our clients have got customers, those customers will benefit from those worldwide learnings and the amount of resources that we can put behind the innovation.
Over that learning period, what are the key sort of pillars of things that have helped you take sort of a leap in both your offer and your proposition?
Look, it's
over
interesting.
That time?
People are always thinking there's like a silver bullet, or there's one part of our proposition that we did better. And visibly, they often look at the warehouse and go, it's the Ocado warehouse. And actually, the thing that's allowed us to succeed to where we are today and allowed us to have something that can help the likes of a business such as Kroger is that what we're actually good at is innovating. And what we're actually good at is driving ourselves forward all the time. And actually, we believe that the solutions that we've built in mobile, in the front end, in the checkout walk on the front end, in search, in the warehouse, in routing, in the in-van software, we believe that we've done that better than anything, best in class in every single component. And then the beauty of owning all of it and running all of it means it integrates much more seamlessly. And so if something happens in the warehouse, we notice the quality of something is not right, and we press something on a gun, instantly the web shop has stopped selling it, the mobile has stopped selling it to customers because it's no longer going to be available. And so it's stuff like that where everything kind of integrates and is seamless, and it's the speed with which, how we can be agile, because we're not dependent on 15 different people to do one thing. We haven't got a WMS vendor and a web shop and a search engine and a. We've got our own teams. And so if something happens in one of Rodney's markets and he says, look at this innovation somebody's doing, we want to counter it like this, it's one team to go and talk to and say, well, how quickly can we make these changes?
Rodney, given how many opportunities there are to innovate, to do things differently, how do you, as the chairman and the CEO, decide on the priorities of things that are, wow, that's really going to have a great impact, that's a fantastic idea, but actually we shouldn't be devoting any resource to it?
I mean, it really does start with the customer and understanding customer trends. So an example would be several years ago with our own brands, we introduced a line called Simple Truth, and it's a natural and organic brand. Today it's a $2.3 billion brand, and we introduced it 5 years ago. And you got to make sure that the things you identify have size potential. It's not something that's a hobby or just interesting. And you're constantly out there. But one of the nice things about being a big company is you are able to test and learn on a regular basis.
And how much time, effort, and resource within the organisation is devoted to testing?
Well, it depends on how you define testing, because if you think about new products to offer, that's something we do every single day.
That's business as usual, I'd say. Yeah.
That's something you do every single day. If it's something that, if you look at our relationship with Walgreens, where we're testing in Northern Kentucky, Walgreens, it's something that we would have a separate team that work on, and then their responsibility is to make sure they're using the resources of Kroger, the data of Kroger, to decide, make some of the business decisions.
Now, your relationship is a little bit, I would say, like a marriage. You're integrated into each other's lives and businesses, and success and failures. Collectively, so far, what have you learned from each other?
Well, first of all, for Kroger, the first thing was just understanding Tim and Ocado's values and approach to the business, the things that Tim just mentioned about just not being satisfied. Mm-hmm. So for us, before it got to any type of where you started having deeper conversations, those are the things that we were looking for, because we knew that we could trust Tim, we could trust his team, the values they had, the way they approached the business, focus on the customer and all those things. So those were the first pieces, and then it really was trying to identify, can we take 1 + 1 and equal 5 or 10 or whatever.
So not satisfied with the 1 + 1 = 3. I like it.
We were actually talking about that at lunch. But for us, that was really the things that got us excited.
So look, we're dramatically different age organisations.
Yes.
So we watched a video before about the history of Kroger, but it started with a focus on the customer, and we started with a focus on the customer. So every time we look at a challenge, we don't say what's the cheapest way to do it. We say what's the best way to do it. Now, how do we do that cheaply? And so I think we share a view of, if we do the best job for the end customer, then as long as we do that in a smart and intelligent way and apply whatever technology we can to it, the end result will be the right one. And so I think we come at it from the same angle, and therefore we're not sitting there kind of clashing with each other all the time. So I think it's working really well, and we think it's going to carry on doing so.
There are many retailers around the world that are trying to close as many stores as they possibly can. What's your view about the relationship between the physical store and the virtual store?
Well, I don't think the customer will make the distinguishment as much as we do.
Yep.
And it really depends on how good a job do you do from a physical standpoint to create an experience that causes somebody to want to come there. Everything that we can find when a customer shops with us online, they still come to a physical store as well. And we actually get a higher share of their total spending, which is a win for everyone.
Tim, what's your view? I mean, in a sense, you come at it from a slightly different direction. I admit it's nice to see you both coming from the customer first focus, which is tremendous. You come at it from a technology perspective. What's your view about the physical versus the virtual?
Look, all of our customers have got physical stores, and our new partner in the UK obviously has got physical stores. And as Rodney said, the customers want different things. And in some markets, that will mean the physical stores will stay and will grow. And in some areas, there'll be less of them, as you mentioned before, because just the economics of stores. But, we're not anti-stores or, everything's got its place for the customer. And in the same way that convenience isn't anti-hypermarket, it's another place that a customer can get something when they need something different, and it might not be competing with a hypermarket. As Rodney said before, it could be competing with a restaurant or something like that. That's how we see online. Some people want to shop this way, and we're here to help our clients serve their customers this way, and some of their customers will want to carry on shopping in their store estate. What I think that we've shown in the UK over the last 19 years is in kind of, in dense urban populated areas, we can do a better job for the customer by using technology and automation and centralization of the type that we're rolling out together now in the US, that is a better job for the customer than you can achieve in a store. Not because we're cleverer than people that operate stores, just because we haven't got customers coming in between the order being placed and the order being fulfilled, and having customers come in and take the stock off the shelves that we didn't know was going to happen. And various reasons like that just means that fundamentally we can be cleverer, and obviously we've developed the technologies and the processes and things to take advantage of that. And so we can both do a better job for the customer and do it at a lower cost, a lower all-in cost, including the fixed assets that we need to put down together. And so, we think that's the right solution for dense urban areas, and we're rolling some of those out and the surrounding geographies around them. But in other areas, even in e-commerce, the store is the right asset to use as well. So we think there's just a mix for the future. And obviously, as store retailers have done, so I think I heard in the video at one point, you had 5,000 stores or something.
Right.
And you're much bigger than you were then, but now you've got 2,000 stores. Store estates of successful retailers change all the time. And obviously, this is just another one of those things that has to be taken into account when you're looking at the future direction of your store estate.
When you look at the future direction now, do you spend a lot of time looking at what's going on in China?
Definitely. And to me, from a retail standpoint, it's one of the most exciting and changing markets at a speed that...
Well, China's speed is like 30 times faster than anywhere else, really, isn't it?
Well, they were able to, a lot of the old legacy infrastructure they didn't have, so they were able to leapfrog.
They have the other advantage of a growing economy. So when you're, if you've got a growing economy and growing demand, then you always need something new anyway. So you can put the new thing in, as your extra capacity. Whereas if you already have a lot of assets, it's harder. It's always, I think, harder in the West, for example, to go and say, I'm going to build something new. But, people are bold enough to do it anyway.
It seems now in China that unless you're delivering within 30 minutes, you're not really in the game. Are we going to see delivery speed being the driver of the growth of e-commerce and the differentiator, or is at some point that's actually just going to stop?
Look, the dynamics in China, obviously to do with things like labour rates and regulations, what you can carry on a motorbike and stuff, are very, very different to somewhere like the UK, which is very, very similar to somewhere like the US, right? There are different shopping missions, and that's already true in bricks and mortar estates in terms of convenience and, petrol or gas stations, smaller convenience, next size of convenience, all the way up to giant hypermarkets. And they tend to be different missions, different desires for the customers. I think, as Rodney mentioned on stage before, we've been trialling a service called Zoom in West London at the moment, and our average delivery time from placing the order is 30 minutes. But I see that more as a convenience offering that will serve a customer's grocery needs, probably not competing with the main shop that they do with us anyway, competing with a store they might have popped into, but also competing with a restaurant delivery service or a restaurant itself. And it's early days for us, but we're seeing double-digit week-on-week growth there in sales. And it's something that will work efficiently and offer a phenomenal customer experience at sustainable, profitable economics, because it's part of an ecosystem of bigger buildings and smaller buildings and shared assets and common and clever code kind of thing. So it's something that we're trialing the first one in the UK, but who knows where the second one will be.
Artificial intelligence. It's impossible to read an article anywhere on anything without artificial intelligence being there. Are you harnessing the power of that within the massive data sets that you now have at Kroger?
I would say yes and no. If you compare it to 5 years ago, the answer is yes. But if you look at versus the potential, I think we're just beginning that journey, and it's the exciting part of the journey.
I'd imagine you've been looking at that for a long time.
We've had quite a lot of intelligence for quite a while, but it is moving and spreading, further and deeper into the business. There are the obvious places like your supply chain or your routing algorithms where you've got intelligence, but the amount of data processing that we do in a warehouse just every time we move a product now is just unbelievable. And some of the AI that we do to help customers find the right products at the right time and kind of help the store to be the most effective for them, it is fascinating. And although we've done quite a lot, as Rodney would say, there's a lot more to do, and things are only going to get smarter.
Finally, how would you characterise, maybe in one or two words, or maybe even a sentence, the age we're living today? When you leave your home and you go into the office, what do you feel?
Energized and excited.
Fantastic.
I think that pretty much sums it up. Yeah, it's rapid. It's rapid change, but it's opportunity.
Fantastic. Rodney, Tim, it's been an absolute pleasure. Once again, congratulations being inducted in the World Retail Congress Hall of Fame for 2019. It's been an absolute pleasure and delight to be with you. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you, Dave. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks.